Story 1. A few of them. I live alone with 2 dogs. I keep the house warm. I get plenty of sleep because I am retired. If I feel unwell, I sleep. I take a large number of vitamins. I do not have a lot of stress in my life. Story 2. Since I began working from home in 2020, I noticed I get much less sick compared to going into the office, where people with children bring illnesses and spread them around. Story 3. Get sick. Pretend you are fine and go on as usual. Claim to never get sick. I actually almost never get sick, but I have chronic issues, so it is like I am always sick, just not contagious. Story 4. Vitamin C supplements, water, hand washing, limiting outside contact since I work from home, knowing when flu season hits and staying in to avoid the waves, and wearing masks. Also exercise, sunlight, and a balanced diet. Ever since COVID-19, if I hear someone sniffle or cough, I put on a mask. I do get some strange looks, but they can get sick and I will be fine, so the joke is on them. I have been very vigilant since then. I do not worry about COVID-19. I just worry about general health concerns now. Story 5. The last time I was sick was in 1986. I am a chronic hand washer. I carried alcohol wipes with me before hand sanitizer was common. Story 6. Wash my hands often. Wear a mask in most public places, and avoid spending a lot of time with school-aged children. I also work from home, so I do not spend much time with people outside of my family. Story 7. I can say as someone immunocompromised who actually does not get sick often, maybe twice a year, I used to get sick much more before I had multiple sclerosis and diabetes. My steps. Avoid children at all costs as I am child-free. Be very meticulous about hand sanitizing. I carry wet wipes and small spray bottles of alcohol and always use them to clean my hands before I eat if I have touched anything in public. I wear a mask in tight, confined spaces such as airplanes, medical waiting rooms, and indoor concerts. I take good care of my vitamin intake and pay attention to what I eat and drink. Story 8. Working from home. I cannot say I never get sick, but compared to working in an office where people came in sick all the time, I am sick far less. I can usually pinpoint where I picked it up when I get sick now, usually the grocery store or some school event I attended for my grandchildren. Story 9. Stay hydrated, eat vegetables and fruit. Stay clean but not too clean to keep your immune system's defense up, and drink kombucha. Also, I do not share beverages, shake hands, or spend time around children. Story 10. I have been a fan of wearing a mask ever since I was a child and saw a documentary about Hong Kong. It seemed like such a good idea. I have continued this practice since the coronavirus disease. I am now particular about the air I breathe, and I like it. Story 11. I wear a well-fitted mask in public places. I had a brief cold in 2022, but have not been sick since. Story 12. I grew up on a farm. No allergies and rarely sick, maybe once every 2 years. I grew up throwing hay, playing in mud, swimming in creek and pond water, and running through pastures barefoot. Story 13. It is true that the more people you are around, the more likely you are to get sick. This makes sense because of germs, but let me tell you a funny story. I worked my entire career as a police officer and rarely got sick. Towards the end of my career, I took a job as a school resource officer and started getting sick frequently. It was due to all the germs concentrated in the school and the children passing illnesses around. Story 14. I've always been a firm believer in letting children get dirty. The sooner their bodies are introduced to everyday germs, the sooner they can develop antibodies and immunities. Children who always get sick tend to have parents who try to keep them away from germs. Story 15. I never take medicine unless absolutely necessary. Doctors are too free with antibiotics these days. Most of the time, you do not need antibiotics. You need to let your immune system do its job. Now, do not get me wrong, there are times you do need antibiotics, but for things like common colds, you do not. I worked with a woman who took her child to the doctor every time she even sniffled. I remember one time she said she was going to take her daughter back in when the doctor would not give her medicine and yell at him until he did. It is absolutely ridiculous. She and her daughter were sick all the time. Meanwhile, the last time I took antibiotics was over 20 years ago. I very rarely get sick. When I do, it is mild and I let my body fight it off. Story 16. I work in a hospital. I have worked in one for 10 years and get sick maybe once a year. I have impeccable hand hygiene and a strong immune system. Story 17. I used to get sick once a month. I started working hard on fixing my gut health, and now I do not get sick at all. Story 18. Diet, sleep, supplements, wear a mask in public, and obtain 2 negative rapid tests 48 hours apart before meeting. Story 19. That's my secret. I turn into a snotty, feverish, sickly green Hulk with a cough. I am always sick. You can never be under the weather when your weather is constant storms. Story 20. I am the daughter of a retired teacher. I believe she brought home many viruses from her students, which gave my immune system plenty of practice when I was a child. Story 21. Vaccines and hand sanitizer. Always wash your hands when you get home. Do not touch your face until you do. It is pretty simple. Even at shows, I bring hand sanitizer, and it helps prevent me from getting sick. But seriously, vaccines are number one. I got both the flu and COVID-19 vaccines, and this year's were especially good. I did not get sick at all, and I did not have a sick day after the vaccines. I got them at the same time, too. The same with my husband. Story 22. I drink a cup of loose-leaf green tea every day. Even when illnesses go around my school, I am the one person who never gets sick. Story 23. I have a very face-forward job that requires me to travel frequently and speak to hundreds of people daily in a public setting. I am not a huge germaphobe and try to stay healthy through gym workouts and exercise. I believe this type of exposure has strengthened my immune system over the years. I rarely get sick, and if I do catch a cold or sore throat, it usually lasts only a day or two. Story 24. I reckon I get sick once a year at most, usually just a cold, and I very rarely get badly ill. I am hypervigilant about hand washing. If I have been outside my house, I absolutely will not touch my face or eat anything until I have washed my hands or sanitized them at the very least. I am so programmed into this now that I can feel when I have not washed my hands. If I touched something an hour ago and semi-consciously registered that as a hand-wash-worthy incident, my hands literally feel different to me until I wash them. I also stay as far away as possible from people who have visible symptoms of illness. If I walk past someone coughing on the street, I hold my breath. It might be this routine or it might just be luck and genetics. Either way, wash your hands. Story 25. I have to have regular medical examinations for work. They frequently become concerned about my white blood cell count and send me for additional tests. In the 20 years of these tests, the results have been satisfactory, so I suppose they help keep me well. I have honestly never been ill. Story 26. I have not been sick in 3 years. I am high risk, so I wear a mask everywhere. Yes, masking does work. My husband never gets sick. He must have a strong immune system, I guess. Story 27. I teach first grade. My immune system has become very strong. I also keep my vaccinations up to date, including the annual influenza vaccine, and try to rest when I can. Story 28. Wash your hands. Keep your hands away from your face and mouth. Make sure anyone who lives with you does the same. Story 29. I avoid touching my face when I am outside. I wash my hands when I go back inside. If I am on an airplane, I disinfect the items around my seat that I will be touching for the duration of the flight. Story 30. Stay away from children. Keep hand sanitizer available. I do not go out much and give children multivitamins. What can I say? I like little critters gummy bears. Story 31. My coworker never gets sick. I once asked her why, and she said she worked at a daycare center for 7 years. She has experienced almost every kind of illness and is now very resilient. Story 32. I wash my hands frequently. If I feel like I am starting to get sick, it usually starts with nasal symptoms. I use a nasal irrigation kit from the pharmacy to flush my sinuses a few times a day. I believe that using it early helps stop the illness before it gets worse. Story 33. I used to get sick all the time, but I started taking elderberry, vitamin C, and zinc multivitamins by Nature Made daily. It has been a long time since I have been sick. Story 34. Do not put things in your mouth that do not belong there. Eat lots of fresh fruits and vegetables along with plenty of chicken soup. Drink plenty of water. Do not buy pre-cooked meals, meats, or vegetables. Stop buying juices, sodas, or sports drinks and stay away from anything that says added sugar, corn syrup, or fructose syrup. Wash your hands and you should be fine. Story 35. Good luck. I exercise, get a good amount of sleep, avoid small children, and wash my hands frequently, but I believe it is mostly luck. Story 36. I have been in school for a job in healthcare for a year and have not been sick once. I am convinced it is all the hand washing. Story 37. Work with small children, and eventually you will develop an ultra-strong immune system. However, you will go through a difficult period during the first 6 months of being frequently ill. Story 38. Many people are talking about isolation, but don't forget those who literally interacted with the outside world. Playing in the mud when it was raining, touching poisonous mushrooms and bugs as children, and now they seem invincible. Story 39. I am a vegetarian. I eat a lot of vegetables and fruit. I am not saying I eat super healthy all the time, but I do consume a lot of fruit and vegetables. Story 40. I would like to know as well. I exercise, take vitamins, and sleep well. I was sick all of April and woke up with a sore throat today again. I will feel very distressed if I get fully sick again. Story 41. It is not that people do not get sick. It is how they respond to it. The same illness may not affect one person much, while another person cannot function. People are not all the same, and some are stronger than others. Story 42. Isolation. I am never outside long enough to catch whatever is going around. Once I work through my isolation issues, I am sure I will be in serious trouble. Story 43. I do not go anywhere and do not interact with anyone for months on end, which is a foolproof way of not getting infected by any viruses. I also have a very strong immune system due to my diet. I do not eat refined sugar, I do not eat red meat, and I eat spices that are very anti-inflammatory. I consume seeds that are high in vitamin D, vitamin C, amino acids, and other nutrients. I eat a lot of vegetables and different fruits. That is basically it. Story 44. I live in the desert. It is unpleasant, but no cold weather means no major influenza season. I rarely get sick anymore, maybe once or twice a year. Story 45. I work outdoors. I eat well, drink plenty of water, and I have a sleep routine. I avoid ill people. Story 46. My immune system is a toxic wasteland that attacks anything even slightly suspicious, including my thyroid and joints. Also, I am never around children. Story 47. I have 3 children and work in daycare. My children rarely get sick, which I believe is mostly due to genetics. My 12-year-old son and younger children have never needed to visit the doctor for any illness. Story 48. I don't have health insurance. I swear it's a curse. When I had insurance, I was sick all the time. My friends who have never had health insurance are literally never sick. It's like your body knows that without it, you are one doctor's visit away from the streets. Story 49. I have always had a problem with people in my personal space. When coronavirus disease created that 6-foot rule, I was like, hell yes, out of my bubble. I still use the 6-foot rule. Also, I wash my hands frequently. Story 50. I've always been a nail biter. It's a bad habit, but I personally think it's what has kept me from getting sick. My body is just used to germs. Story 51. I train myself not to touch my face, especially when around children or in public places such as public transportation. Story 52. I am an international airline pilot, so I spend half my life in various places with different people. I also have a child in daycare and a child in school, so I can only assume that my immune system has experienced a lot. Story 53. I touch my face a lot, so I hand sanitize and wash my hands frequently. As soon as I get home, I wash my hands. I also wash my hands or hand sanitize before I eat and when I get back in the car after being in public. I go out frequently and attend several events with more than 10,000 people each year. I have been fortunate to stay healthy and free from illness. Story 54. I rarely get sick, and my wife thinks I go out of my way to pick up germs. I hold handrails in public places, push elevator buttons with my finger, and shake people's hands. I figure the more exposure I get, the stronger my immune system will be. I have never had coronavirus disease. Story 55. My son is never sick. In his life, he has been to the doctor twice except for his vaccinations. I think because he had his vaccinations, he is always outside and socializing. When he was younger, he was literally putting everything in his mouth, and I never shied away from dirty soft play areas or any events with him. Those were the joys of trying to get away from an abusive relationship. Story 56. I am allergic to several antibiotics, so over the years, I have developed a very strong immune system by simply enduring it. Story 57. I have an overactive immune system. The downside is that my immune system attacks everything, so I have some autoimmune and allergy-related annoyances. I also frequently wash my hands and do not spend much time in crowded places. COVID-19 went around my building at work 3 times since 2022, and I have managed to avoid it. Story 58. I recently quit drinking, but before that, I would drink heavily and smoke a lot, so I am not sure. Story 59. Plenty of sun, and I never slow down on the weekends. Rowing, mountain biking, etc. It's a curse, really. Story 60. I do not know, but I have not been sick since I was 16 years old, except for a fever that lasted 1 day. I am now 33 years old and have not been sick since then. Story 61. 1. I wear a mask. But even when I did not, I rarely got sick. Even when my children brought home everything they could collect at daycare and school. 2. I am a healthcare worker. I think it is true that our immune systems are out decimating squirrels in the backyard. Story 62. Hi. Constant sick person here. This past winter was the first time I did not get sick since 2020, the first year I can recall not getting sick. My secret? I found a partner and we kissed a lot. That is the only thing I did differently. My child was sick 4 times. Me 0. There is something to be said about that. Story 63. Cold showers, exercise outside even in winter, drink plenty of water, and plan well to avoid unnecessary stress. This approach seems to have worked for me. Story 64. I am overweight, use an electronic cigarette, and do not follow a diet. I do not know. My guess is that the nicotine in my blood kills everything. Story 65. I have never been concerned about germs and have developed a strong immune system. Sometimes I feel like I am going to get sick, but the symptoms disappear the next day. Story 66. For me, it is the opposite of the top comments. I spend a lot of time in bars at least 2 to 3 times a week, only 1 drink a night though. I am not sure if the alcohol might factor in one way or another. I am exposed to sick people all the time, and my immune system has been built of steel. I used to not get sick when I stayed in all the time, but the moment I encountered a sick person, I would basically be guaranteed to catch what they had. Now, I can be face to face with someone who is visibly ill, have a whole conversation, and not catch their illness. Not being exposed to pathogens only works as long as you continue not being exposed. Story 67. That's a good question. I used to get a stomach bug every few years, but I noticed that when I started eating more vegetables rather than other foods, I stopped getting these. So maybe that's it. Story 68. I honestly do not know. My 5-year-old and I have not been sick in over a year. Maybe just genetics. No clue. We never caught the coronavirus either. Everyone I know has had it once or multiple times. Story 69. Okay, hear me out. I was a dirty kid. I never wore shoes, had matted hair, and ate food off the floor. I am 27 years old and I get sick maybe once a year. I truly feel like exposing myself to everything has made me immune. Story 70. I wash my hands in excessive amount and I do not touch my face. I am a teacher, so I essentially work in a petri dish. I very rarely get sick. Story 71. I have an overly active immune system. Basically, all of my health issues come down to my immune system attacking random things, though I have no allergies, oddly enough. The only times I have gotten sick in the past 10 years or so are from airplanes. I do wash my hands a lot, though I have not always been like that. Story 72. Good family genes. Overall healthy, prioritize sleep and good eating. Still wear masks in some public spaces, such as airplanes, Costco on the weekends, and doctors' offices. Story 73. I eat out of dumpsters to build up immunity. I only shower about once a week to maintain a protective microbiome. Stay away from children. I have not been sick in 15 years. Story 74. Genetics plays a significant role more than we often think. Being proactive with health is important. Preventative care greatly outweighs treating diagnosed conditions, in my opinion. Everyone gets sick. Some people handle it better. For example, I rarely get sick, but when I do, I completely shut down and need chicken pho and Dayquil for a few days, being as dramatic as in a 1930s movie where people faint for no reason. I have black lung disease. Story 75. If I start feeling sick, I get a half-gallon of orange juice and nap or play video games all day while I drink it. Story 76. My amazing immune system. I grew up not showering too often and was a dirty kid. I am convinced that is why I have a great immune system now. Story 77. I eat expired food. I work on my project car where there is no water or electricity, so I cannot wash my hands. I also like to go to bed with wet hair. In other words, I take showers before I go to bed, not in the morning. It is probably just genetics. Story 78. Honestly, sleep like it is a religion, stay hydrated like it is a job, and manage your stress like it is toxic waste. Story 79. Honestly, I am not sure. I have obsessive-compulsive disorder, so I wash my hands a lot. Maybe that is the reason. Other than that, it could be genetics. No one in my immediate family gets sick often either. Story 80. I work a physical job. I get dirty and touch germy things. I never wash my hands. I just get on with it. The worst thing I have ever had is a sore throat. Story 81. Do not talk to anyone or touch anything. If you have to talk to people, stay about 4 or 5 feet away. If you must touch something, use the sleeve of the jacket you are wearing. Wash your hands often and avoid touching your mouth. Story 82. I think of a couple of things. 1. Getting my influenza vaccination along with other vaccinations. 2. I do not have a customer service job or work with children. I have heard from teachers that they get sick frequently since children are not very aware of maintaining cleanliness. Story 83. My boyfriend and I are both reclusive and only spend time with a select few people who are also mostly reclusive. Story 84. Antibacterial wipes. I carry them in my handbag and use them whenever I touch public surfaces. I have not been sick since before the coronavirus disease 2019 pandemic. Story 85. Lurking this post as much as I can because I am a guy who gets sick about every 6 weeks on average. I am currently recovering from a throat infection. I am starting a full-time job in a retirement home where cleanliness is paramount. Hopefully, the job security, lack of stress, and generally clean environment will do me well. Story 86. Wear N95 respirators in public, at all healthcare appointments, and when socializing. Avoid indoor dining. I have been sick only once in 5 years. Story 87. Wash your hands. Do not touch your face. Wash your hands. Drink plenty of water. Wash your hands. Story 88. I wear a mask in public even though it is very inconvenient. I get my vaccinations. I wash my hands often and do not touch unwrapped straws, or use my hands to eat if I am not at home. I do not touch my eyes, nose, or mouth. Nothing enters my home without being sanitized with 91% isopropyl alcohol first, especially my phone. I frequently use hand sanitizer while I am out. If someone sneezes or coughs near me, I hold my breath and walk away if possible. I do not handle cash. Story 89. I dated a medical doctor who said I had the constitution of an ox because I never get sick, and if I do, it is mild and brief. I begged to differ, but she insisted, and I eventually deferred to her expertise. Story 90. Hand hygiene and working in a hospital, also known as hospital immunity because we are always exposed. Honestly, washing or sanitizing your hands before eating, preparing food, after taking public transportation, and going to the shops will make a difference. You also need to consider washing hands when they are visibly soiled versus using sanitizer when they are not soiled to protect your skin. Moisturize very often and wear a bandage if you have a cut. Your skin is the largest organ and the first barrier against germs, so any cracks, cuts, or burns compromise it. Story 91. I am from New York, where we value personal space and do not stand too close. I am hyper-aware of my body due to extremely sensitive skin caused by multiple food and environmental allergies. I carefully manage my environment to avoid painful reactions that often require urgent care and a steroid injection to ease the discomfort. My preventive measures to limit exposure to allergens not only protect me from allergens but also help me avoid getting sick. Story 92. Well, I never get a cold, so that must count for something. Head cold, influenza, coronavirus disease, sinus infection, whatever has to do with lungs. I have never had it. I had pneumonia twice. Both times it was pretty severe from the x-rays, but I was still walking and working. I had gone to the hospital for other issues. Once an ovarian cyst ruptured, and the other time was a checkup regarding a car accident I had been in. Living in a house full of influenza patients. Father, mother, brother, brother's girlfriend, and my own boyfriend even picked it up. And since marrying, my husband has had coronavirus disease twice and I never got it. But I do get every stomach bug that is within any sort of vicinity. I don't do anything special. No extra hand washing. I wasn't careful about masking during coronavirus disease, and I am unvaccinated due to having severe reactions as an infant to vaccines. There is very interesting science regarding blood type and susceptibility to certain viruses. My experiences tend to align with the available literature on blood type and susceptibility, and I find the subject fascinating. Story 93. I do not meet many people, but in addition, I take care of myself, am physically fit, take supplements of the nutrients most people lack regularly, drink enough water, and sleep very well. I have not been sick in 6 years, and even when I catch a cold, it only lasts a day or so. Story 94. Wash your hands before eating. Brush your teeth before and after bed. Take a shower at least twice a day. Wear deodorant and some form of fragrance, if possible, after each shower. Change your clothes regularly. Keep your room clean. Eat a balanced diet. Try to reduce your intake of sugar, fat, carbohydrates, alcohol, and salt. Exercise regularly. If you can, exercise every day and alternate between cardiovascular exercise and some form of weight training. Get enough sleep. Aim for 6 hours each night. Do not smoke. Vaping is not ideal, but it is often used as a nicotine substitute. Story 95. Masks, lots of masks, and plenty of hand sanitizer. I am immunocompromised, so I make a point of minimizing my risk as much as possible. Story 96. I was sick for 2 months when my first child went to preschool. I have had very few illnesses after 3 children have been in school for 12 years. I regularly eat my child's leftovers. At this point, I have been exposed to many illnesses. We all contracted coronavirus disease. Story 97. Maintaining personal hygiene is important. I work with children and interact with people regularly. I am very meticulous about self-care and cleanliness. Story 98. My husband's theory is that it is because I drink water compulsively throughout the day. So I go to the bathroom often and am diligent about washing my hands each time. The hydrating part probably does not hurt either. Story 99. Now in my late 60s. Straightforward diet. Lots of sport when I was young and fitness now. Symmetrical body. Gait is neutral. Many people should be trained to walk properly when young. Ankles and knees often misaligned. Never smoked or done drugs. Very rarely drink. Lucky with genes. Have a few family issues, a tiny bit of eczema but never ill as a kid. Had a couple of days with a kidney infection. Antibiotics resolved it. Have had influenza twice. Believe me, that's not just a bad cold. Experienced all childhood illnesses before vaccinations. Lucky to not have lasting issues with sight or hearing from measles. Many children did. Story 100. I work from home. My boyfriend has a few coworkers he interacts with. I only spend time with him and my dog. I get everything from groceries, meals, clothes, and more through delivery. Story 101. Always wash your hands before putting anything in your mouth, such as a mint or pizza crust. A doctor told me this, and it helped me a lot. I also saw a video that said do not dig your nose because if the skin breaks, all the germs in the air can enter easily. Story 102. I wish I knew. I never get sick. I have also worked in childcare and healthcare, so that is probably the reason I have a good immune system. Story 103. There is no secret. I have a colleague at work who has only been sick once in their life. He does not work out much and his diet is normal. You can take vitamins or supplements, but in the end, all that matters is the immune system you are born with. And then there is me, who has fallen sick 5 times already since 2025 started. Story 104. Gut health. I have become very focused on my gut biome and my skin microbiome, and the rest of my body seems to be responding very well to that. Story 105. I have no idea. Maybe because I do yoga and meditate most days, I eat decently, I walk a lot, and I actually like my job. I brush my teeth well regularly. I usually drink 2 or more quarts of fluids a day, mostly water and tea, and I maintain good friendships despite moving every 2 to 3 years. Most of my friendships are at least 10 years old, and I can count them on both hands. I walk away from toxic people and situations, and I am generally really positive. I know good times will pass, so I enjoy them when they come, and I know bad times will pass, so I do my best with what I have and wait them out. I think it is mostly my mentality. Story 106. I teach young children and take public transportation. For the first 6 months, I got sick often, but I think I strengthened my immune system. Story 107. A few things I think help. A good diet, exercise, keeping weight under control. Many ill people are overweight and have poor lifestyle choices, such as an unhealthy diet and lack of exercise. Story 108. Years of building my immune system. I have worked in a high-traffic public setting for 15 years. If I feel sick, I take a couple of medications and power through it. Being in air conditioning is essential, though. You cannot be sick if you work in an outside environment. I think my diet contributes to it. I have done a lot of nutritional research and graze throughout the day with items like blue cheese, olives, honey butter, scratch Caesar dressing, egg and sardines, varieties of onions, and other vegetables. I often get strange looks for the things I eat, but I know the vitamins and compounds I am putting into my body. Talon Fitness on YouTube is a good start for learning about nutritional values and the dangers of overconsumption. Story 109. Eat your fruits and vegetables, especially your herbs and roots like oregano, garlic, and onions. Over 90% of my food is homemade. I cook all my meals and am constantly picking up fresh ingredients from the grocery store. As I got older, I started to focus more on humanely treated meat. It tastes much better, and your body begins to reject abused animal products because it can tell the difference. I get sick about once every 2 to 3 years. I also drink tea without sugar and plain hot water for sickness and ailments. Additionally, I wash my hands often and have no children. Story 110. Whatever I eat either makes me sick or not. This forced me to change and eat healthier over time. I went to 2/3 raw food. It took 12 years to get rid of old habits. For cooked food, it is always vegetarian. I am much happier this way. I highly recommend Indian food for vegetarians because it is tasty and interesting. Story 111. Throughout my life, I have rarely gotten sick. For example, from 4th to 9th grade, I did not miss any days of school. In 10th grade, I caught a terrible flu that lasted 2 weeks, and then I was healthy for the rest of high school. A couple of examples during my adult years. I did not get sick from 2014 until December 2019. I recovered in time for a Metallica concert for which I had tickets a few months in advance. The next time I got sick was last month with a respiratory infection. I was out for 2 weeks. Hopefully, I go another 4 or 5 years without getting sick. I do not do anything special. My diet is on the healthy side, but I am not rigid about it. I enjoy In-N-Out once a month. I stay away from other fast food restaurants. Because I am not used to them, I strongly dislike the taste of their food. On the other hand, once a month or so, I fry beans and make flour tortillas for a good Mexican breakfast. It reminds me of childhood. I enjoy desserts too, but often I do not have any at home. I do not buy chocolate bars such as Snickers, though I step into C's Candy a few times a year. I buy 3 or 4 pieces of dark chocolate and they last me a week. As a photographer, I shoot sports for a Division I college. So I am around athletes constantly. For example, during media day shoots, it is up close and personal with them. During games, I am around hundreds of fans for volleyball, for instance. It is thousands of people at basketball and football games. I also shoot tailgating during football season and I am with the band on the field. I also shoot fashion, which again brings me in contact with people. Exercise. Speed walk or run some 20 miles a week on most months. I am 56 now. Fingers crossed that I keep this trend going. Story 112. Vitamin D, washing hands frequently, and wearing a mask in confined busy spaces during coronavirus and influenza season. Story 113. Breastfeeding can work wonders for your immune system. I have not been sick in 2 years. Story 114. Keep a clean house. Shower regularly. Wash your hands and sanitize your phone often. Do not touch your face without washing your hands after being out in public. Drink herbal tea daily. Eat a balanced diet with plenty of protein, vegetables, and fruit. You will not need to rely on supplements if you get nutrients through your diet. At the first sign of feeling unwell, take a hot shower, then have honey lemon tea and wear comfortable clothes. Story 115. I drink, eat what I like, only have relationships with cheerleaders, and masturbate every day. Then I go to the gym and engage in sexual activity. Story 116. I honestly do not know. I have a bad alcohol problem, eat poorly and sleep poorly, but I get sick only about once a year. I also work in retail, so I interact with hundreds of people every workday. I spend my Saturdays getting drunk with my friends in very busy bars and clubs. How I do not always get sick is a mystery to me. My dad is the same. Story 117. It is funny reading all the answers from people saying working from home or limiting social interactions because I swear I am the opposite. I take public transit everywhere, have always worked people-facing jobs, including in elementary school, and get sick far less than my partner who works remotely. We do not live together, so I do not think it is me getting him sick. I feel like I have been exposed to so many germs that my immune system is very strong. I have not been sick since 2015. Story 118, it's gonna sound dumb, but when I go through an alcoholic phase, I get colds and flu much less than when I'm sober. Story 119, 1. Wash hands thoroughly for 60 seconds before eating with hands and as soon as I come home. 2. Avoid hand dryers in public restrooms. 3. Do not touch eyes or mouth outside of home when germs might be present. 4. Do not stand too close to people and walk away quickly holding breath when someone near coughs or sneezes. I have not been sick for 2 years now. Story 120. I wash and sanitize my hands constantly. Every time I get home, every time I eat, every time it is available for me to do so. It is probably an obsession at this point, but I am kind of afraid of getting sick, so I avoid it as much as I can. Story 121. My asymptomatic bout of coronavirus I am currently fighting notwithstanding, I usually get maybe 1 to 2 days per year where I am actually sick. I eat poorly, never drink water, consume nothing but sweet tea and coffee, and have not been to a gym since high school. However, I also like vegetables and fruit, work outside 99% of the time in a physically demanding job, ride motorcycles to keep my brain and reflexes sharp, avoid sharing drinks or food with people, and drink about a gallon of orange juice per week. Story 122. No clue honestly. I am 43 and have had a strong immune system my entire life. Probably just good genetics because I certainly do not take great care of myself. Story 123. Before COVID-19. Take 2 acetaminophen tablets and get on the bus. After COVID-19. Wear a mask most of the time, wash your hands. It is easy to do. Story 124. Exercise regularly, follow a heart-healthy low-carbohydrate diet, stay up to date with vaccinations, wear a mask in indoor crowds, maintain a good social life, and good luck. Story 125. I lived in a dirty house growing up. It was not ideal, but I believe it helped develop a strong immune system. Now I have a stomach of steel and rarely get sick. Story 126. Work in a school. You will spend the first whole year sick with everything going around, but after that, your immune system will be very strong. On the flip side, my antisocial brother, who is never ill, has something very serious every few years. Story 127. Hindi ko rin talaga alam kasi hindi ako nagkakasakit. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na hindi talaga nagkakasakit, minsan lang talaga. Nagugulat pa nga ako kapag may ubo ako, pero hindi pa ulit ako nagkakaroon ng lagnat. Parang ilang taon na, siguro malakas lang talaga ang immune system ko. Story 128. You cannot really go back in time for this one, since back then I built up a lot of immunity against many illnesses. I ate dirt and my boogers, and I would lick walls because they are salty. I drank expired milk twice. I was a chaotic child. Story 129. I played outside as a kid and got dirty. In middle school, we would go dumpster diving to see if there was any cool stuff, for fun. I rarely wash my hands without reason. I don't shy away from dirt either. I'm the one at the house who cleans up the cat vomit and when they miss the litter box. Your body makes more antibodies when exposed to filth. There was a study where rural children had better immunity than city children, likely because their parents did not keep them as sterile. When I finally caught coronavirus disease 2019, I had a headache for 2 days, then returned to normal. I also take supplements and exercise. Get dirty, people. Story 130. Traveling for 4 years straight as a backpacker through Africa, including during the COVID-19 pandemic, I never wore a mask and never once got sick. I met many people and attended numerous parties. I ate a variety of foods and spent a lot of time outdoors in nature. The more you expose yourself, the stronger you become. If you live in a bubble in your house with your 2 dogs and rely on climate control, you may feel safe, but when you first encounter an illness, you are likely to get sick. Story 131. My mom made me drink a mug of 2% milk every night when I was in 2nd and 3rd grade. I rarely get sick now. Story 132. I sleep at least 7 to 8 hours a day or night because I do shift work. Do not take my vitamin regimen without thorough research. Proline, lysine, and time-released vitamin C for my cardiovascular system, omega-3, and a men's multivitamin when I wake up, whether day or night. I take 2 capsules of magnesium glycinate before bed every day. I mainly drink water. If not water, then tea, beer, or coffee. Sometimes a sugar-free energy drink. Every job I've had keeps me moderately in shape. I don't work out, but I am not doing that. Story 133. I do not know. Sometimes I want to get sick to skip work, but it has been a year or more since I had the flu or a cold. Blessed. Story 134. Regular sleep, 8 hours a day. Drink enough water. Eat vegetables and fruits. Exercise regularly. That is all. Oh, and perhaps healthy genes. Story 135. Genetics, I only eat home-cooked food, no dairy. Sleep at least 7 hours. Go to bed at the same time even on my wedding day. Story 136. Sleep. Getting a scratchy throat? Eat, drink, and get plenty of sleep. Other people are sick for 2 weeks. I am under the weather for a day and a half. Story 137. I almost never get sick. When I do, I take the first 2 days easily and call in if I need to. After that, I work out and stay active at home and at work as if nothing happened. I feel like this helps my immune system fight back. However, that is just what works for me. It may not work for everyone. Always call in if you need to. The world is not going to end no matter how much your supervisor makes it sound. Story 138. Wash hands regularly. Shower at least once daily. Avoid going out frequently. Use disinfectant daily. And clean frequently used items weekly. Try to eat healthier, stay active, and follow an exercise routine. Story 139. I keep hand sanitizer in my car and in my bag and always use it after touching any public surface such as gas pumps, menus, automated teller machines, shopping carts, paying at grocery stores, grabbing door handles, and shaking hands. I do not touch my face when I am out in public, and I limit contact with people who may be unwell. I have not been sick since well before the pandemic, and my husband and I have never had coronavirus disease. Story 140. I stopped talking about getting sick or being sick. Now I rarely am. Growing up, I used to say I only get sick in February and November. When I stopped saying that, I magically stayed healthy. Story 141. I used heroin for about 10 years, from my early 20s to my early 30s. During that entire time, I never even caught the common cold. Story 142. Good sleeper. Low stress. Do not drink water. Poor physical self-awareness, so sometimes I might be sick but not aware. Story 143. Influenza vaccine. Vitamins. I do not wear my sweaty clothes for too long. Shower or wash the body at least twice daily. Drink plenty of water. Story 144. I grew up at the edge of a small forest, always playing in sand and dirt and having picnics. My immune system was very strong. Story 145. Probably a mix of good genes, lots of water, and pretending to be invincible. Also, avoid the rules. Just kidding. Story 146. Bunker genetics. The past 2 to 3 generations in my family have had bulletproof immune systems, so I have an advantage and bonuses on those skill checks. Story 147. A good immune system. Sadly, both my children inherited my ex-partner's weak immune system. Mind you, when I get sick, I tend to make a big deal of it. Story 148. I stopped taking public transport. I barely get sick now. I moved closer to work and can now run to work and back, which takes about 25 minutes each way. It's a great way to work out too. We have very nice showers at work, better than what I have at home, so I run to work, shower, change, then run back home and shower again. When I used to take the underground to work, I would get sick about 3 times a year. I live by myself, so no kids or anyone else. Just an aquarium and my poodle. There is no one to spread sickness to me. I do socialize a lot actually, but none of my friends have kids. We hang out 3 to 5 times a week in the evening and most weekends. Mostly, they work from home and have no kids either. Story 149. Keep moving, never sit still. Germs have a hard time jumping on a moving target. That is why athletes never get sick, always avoiding the germs. Story 150. I wash my hands and bathe regularly with medicated soap. Also, avoiding stress and staying hydrated have worked wonders for me. Story 151. My father never had a headache until his mid-60s, only mild high blood pressure. He never smoked or drank alcohol. He has had his gallbladder removed and now experiences mild strokes, blood clots, and arthritis. Story 152. Wash hands and avoid going to any universities during the start of the academic term. Many individuals come from various places, increasing the risk of spreading infections. Story 153. Usually, people who almost never get sick do so because they smoke. They cough more frequently and expel infections before they take hold. At least around here in Canada, that is usually the case. Story 154. I eat extremely healthfully and work from home. I have 2 children who attend a school with many germs. I believe my healthy lifestyle, including exercise, vitamins, sleep, and nutritious food, helps keep sickness at bay. I tend to be the only one in the house who does not get sick. Story 155. 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C every day among other nutrients. Do not eat processed foods. Wash hands regularly. Story 156. If I feel under the weather, I take the day off immediately and sleep it off. I never get worse than a headache and feeling sniffly, and it is always gone the next day. The last time I was sick was 5 years ago with coronavirus. I have the good European privilege of calling in sick and still getting paid. Story 157. I worked at a daycare. I was sick for months straight when I worked there, but now I have been sick only a handful of times in the past 10 years. Story 158. Prioritize sleep. Do not binge drink, at least not more than once a month, longer if you can. I stopped at the end of last year and have not gotten a cold since. Do not smoke. Drink enough water for your body weight and height. I hate to say it, but the fitness professionals were right. Story 159. I have been with my husband for almost 29 years, and in all that time he has had only one cold. He caught COVID-19 because I brought it home from work. He is not a healthy person. He does not eat right, does not exercise, does not go to the doctor, and does not do the things one should do. However, his cholesterol and blood sugar levels are great, there are no issues with his heart, and his only complaint is occasional knee pain from being hit by a truck a few years ago. I have decided that his secret is simply that he is an alien. He went to the doctor 2 years ago for a full checkup, which is how we know his blood sugar and other health markers are great. Story 160. I take vitamin D3 and wash my hands as soon as I walk into the house. I never get sick and have never had coronavirus disease 2019. Story 161. I have Crohn's disease and am on an immune suppressant biologic. I have not been sick since late 2022 when I was pregnant with my first child during the COVID-19 pandemic. I take supplements known to boost immunity: vitamin D3, zinc, vitamin C, and elderberry. I rarely leave the house. I am a stay-at-home mom with an almost 2-year-old who has never been sick. When we do leave the house, the first thing we do upon returning is wash our hands. This habit was taught to me by my mother when I was a child. I also enjoy eating berries often, which I know are beneficial for health. I am not sure if this contributes to staying healthy, but I focus on consuming a lot of protein because I do not digest fats and sugar very well. Story 162. Regularly disinfect doorknobs, faucet knobs, light switch panels, hand sanitizer in the car, pump gas with a disposable glove on, and use the keychain door handle puller in public places. Wash my hands after touching my mailbox or use something to pull it open. Keep anyone other than my immediate family or partner out of my house. Do not go to other people's houses unless absolutely necessary. They do not disinfect their touch points like I do. Close the lid before flushing. You do not want mist from the toilet all over the surfaces. Occasionally take vitamins and leave shoes at the front door. Make sure my 5-pound dog's feet are clean and deworm her twice a year, as she sleeps with me. Yes, I am a germaphobe who sleeps with the dog. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.